We hope you've done your grocery shopping already because this episode is gonna make you hungry. Today we'll be exploring 9 amazing foods that were only invented in the last 100 years. From chicken nuggets to microwave popcorn, every snack has its own unique culinary history. Do you know which dish Japan considers to be its greatest invention? Hint, it's not sushi. Make sure to stick around to find out what we think is the greatest food invention of all time. First up, we have sliced bread, 1928. Ever hear the expression, the best thing since sliced bread? Perhaps not, as the expression itself is already a little dated. Bread has been a staple in most cultures since the cultivation of wheat. For much of civilized history, baking and slicing your own bread was common practice. If you lacked the time but had the funds, local bakeries were always a necessary stop on shopping trips. An American man named Otto Frederick Rohwedder saw an opportunity and invented the first bread slicing machine in 1928. Suddenly, sliced bread was found on supermarket shelves everywhere. This made it super easy to just grab a loaf, some spreads, fillings, and assemble a ton of sandwiches with little to no effort. American folks especially enjoyed picnics at this time, which also led to the bottling of beer in cans instead of glass bottles in 1935. A game changer for sure. Next up is takoyaki. Second only to sushi as far as Japanese street food goes, takoyaki are delicious little gooey pancake balls stuffed with octopus and other fillings. Originating from Osaka, they're usually topped with Japanese mayo, a special Worcester-based sauce, and bonito flakes. A sumptuous combination of sweet, salty, and umami come together in one of the country's most ubiquitous dishes. You can buy them almost anywhere, from unmanned vending machines to markets and high-end restaurants. Street vendors will sometimes be seen over huge iron hot plates, specially made with small circular pits to produce batches of up to 100 takoyaki at a time. Smaller versions are available for purchase if you'd ever like to try making them yourself. The technique requires a little bit of skill with chopsticks, but with some practice you can easily enjoy Japan's favorite festival food in the comfort of your own home. Next on the list is poutine, 1950s. This Canadian classic took the world by storm in the 90s, dividing many over its bizarre combination of French fries, cheese curds, and gravy. Although its exact origin is unknown, the first records of the existence of poutine date back to 1950s rural Quebec. It can be found in many American restaurants today, but the best poutine tourism can be done in Montreal, Quebec. With numerous restaurants specializing in this greasy, satisfying dish, you could have a different poutine every day of the year and you still wouldn't have tried them all. They taste good topped with almost anything, but the original poutine will always be the best. Another for our list is General Tso's chicken, 1955. A Chinese-American favorite, General Tso's chicken is a sweet and tangy battered chicken dish. It is beloved by many and can be found in almost every Chinese restaurant in North America. It's named after an existing historical figure, Tso Song Sang, of the Chinese Hunan province. Invented by Chef Peng Chang Hui after fleeing China during political unrest, the dish originated in Taiwan. Chef Peng Chang Hui was also the Hunan province and wished to honor his origins with the dish. It was adapted by many Huanese chefs over the next 20 years, and by the late 70s made its way to America. The first versions were made without sugar. This was added when Hunan chefs in New York City realized that they had to alter the recipe slightly to market the dish to American customers. Although you can never really go wrong with fried chicken, the sweet, slightly spicy sauce can also be served on fried tofu or sauteed vegetables to be enjoyed by anyone. Ironically, if you were to ask someone who lives in Hunan today if they like General Tso's chicken, they'll likely not know what you're talking about. Up next, instant noodles, 1958. Often associated with university students, instant noodles are one of the most popular foods in the world. Over 100 billion servings are eaten per year globally. The most popular type of instant noodle is flash fried ramen, and believe it or not, these were considered a luxury item at the time of their creation. Momofuku Ando, a Japanese inventor, launched the first commercially available instant ramen under the brand name Chicken Ramen in 1958. While not exactly nutritious, instant noodles are often regarded as junk food for their relatively high fat and salt content. Most people like to add things to their instant noodles such as eggs, meat, seafood, or vegetables, but otherwise they make a great option for people who are hungry and don't have much money. A 2001 poll of Japanese residents concluded that they consider instant noodles to be their country's greatest invention, and we'd be somewhat inclined to agree. Stick around to the end of the video to find out what we think is the greatest food invention of all time. Up next, we have chicken nuggets, 1960s. Although the chicken nugget was popularized in the 80s by fast food giant McDonald's, they were actually invented some 20 years before by a professor at Cornell University. Robert C. Baker was passionate about finding a way to get the American public to eat more chicken. There was a surplus of chicken in the market after the Second World War, and medical data associating the consumption of red meat with heart disease were both motivators for his work. These products needed to be easily prepared, as working women no longer had the time to spend hours cooking every day. Baker is also credited as being the inventor of chicken cold cuts and hot dogs. After perfecting his recipe for his chicken sticks, Baker selfishly decided not to patent his work and sent the recipe to over 200 companies worldwide. When McDonald's got wind of this new way to serve chicken, they teamed up with Tyson Foods to develop their iconic chicken nugget. It took 4 years of tweaking and experimenting before they would launch their nuggets to the public in 1983. They haven't changed since. Now we have microwave popcorn, 1981. Popcorn's history dates back thousands of years. It was originally discovered by First Nations people of North America, for whom corn was an incredibly important food source. Its first appearance in European descended communities dates back to the mid-19th century and was made in a kettle or pot over a stove. The first popcorn machine was invented in Chicago in 1890 by a candy store owner, and in the following years, these machines started popping up at baseball games and fairs across the country. During the Great Depression, popcorn was an inexpensive treat and was an economic blessing in that vendors could still make an excellent profit while charging only 5 to 10 cents per bag. In 1981, General Mills patented the first microwavable popcorn bag, and consumption skyrocketed. Now the original snack of cinema, some find it hard to imagine seeing their favorite films without a bag of this salty, buttery delight. Next is Ruby Chocolate, 2017. One of the most mysterious sweets to come out of the 21st century, Ruby Chocolate has been a hot topic amongst candy connoisseurs worldwide. It had its debut at a private event in 2017 in Shanghai and was since sold to Nestle by Belgian-Swiss creators Barry Callebaut. Although it was widely popular in Japan when launched as a limited edition Kit Kat, it has not gained as much popularity in North America. Its origins are debatable, as the creators have been purposefully vague about how the candy is made. Although it does contain cocoa mass and butter, thus defining it as chocolate, most believe that the rosy hue and unique flavor profile are not naturally occurring, as Callebaut claims. It has a smooth, tart flavor reminiscent of berries and citrus. The color and taste are said to be a result of unmodified cocoa pods grown under specific atmospheric conditions. It's also said that skipping the fermentation step of processing cocoa beans is what retains the fruity flavor. Regardless of whether Ruby Chocolate is truly the fourth chocolate, it can be used to make beautiful desserts and has a flavor unlike anything you've ever had. Lastly on our list, edible water bottles, 2019. Although not exactly a food source, we think that edible water bottles are the greatest invention in the history of food. As climate change becomes increasingly hostile, people have been educating themselves on the excessive pollution that's caused by plastic. Many have switched to reusable, eco-friendly materials, and every year there is slightly less demand for disposable products. While often more convenient and sometimes downright necessary, companies have recognized the importance of having access to eco-friendly disposable products. A staggering 22 billion water bottles ended up in incinerators and landfills in 2020 alone. Although many plastic bottles are recyclable, some regions don't have the necessary resources and infrastructure to collect and reuse the plastic. Even in the US, only about 1 in 6 water bottles are actually recycled. The edible water bottle, which is more of a sphere or pod, was developed by a team of mostly Spanish designer inventors led by Rodrigo Garcia Gonzalez. The pods are made of submerging a sphere of ice into a couple different solutions, which jellifies on the ice surface, creating a thin membrane. Although they are quite delicate and don't have a very long shelf life, they're a huge step towards a much greener future. Thanks for watching. If you learned something new today, please make sure to like, subscribe, and enable notifications. Let us know down in the comments if you think we missed any significant contributions to the culinary world. Until next time.